Hi, and welcome back to Pittman's Pumpkin Patch, Pittman's Garden Patch. It's July 15th, 2015, and I want to show you what's going on here in the garden. This is my pride and joy right now. It is my first time ever getting a bell pepper. This is a yellow bell pepper, of course. Getting it to go from green to yellow. And what's interesting about this is I've been watching this pepper, and it is a very huge pepper, and I've been watching it for over a month now to see when's it gonna start to ripen up. And it didn't do anything for a while, and I haven't been out in the garden in the last couple of days, and the last I checked it was still just solid green. And then so about 2 days this thing has ripened up. Even this morning when I came out here and first saw it, there was just a tinge of green, a little bit of green in there, and now that it's evening time, the thing is that green is gone. So these things, once they decide to ripen, they go very fast. A couple days, 3 days at the most. So I'll probably, maybe harvest that in the morning time. And but I want to show you that before I go. So this is I guess it's a California Wonder, but these are just yellow bell peppers here. And I am loaded with bell peppers all over these plants. And again, going back to one of my previous videos that I talked about is using Praxis method of pruning that he showed. I was able to last year and again this year get a lot of production out of these plants using his technique that he showed. And I just want to give you a little little perspective how good these bell pepper plants are. You can see the one up front here with the white PVC pipe is kind of the run of the litter. But the other ones, I still had to stake them despite pruning them, and they're a little bit more lower to the ground, a little more bushy. But they still needed to be staked with PVC pipes is what I use, because that's just what I had available. But these pepper plants are doing excellent, just like last year. And I'll show you the basil here. This is crazy. I'm having to back up here. It's like a big old hedge. 2 basil plants. Look at how bushy that is. And that's from pinching and pruning this throughout the late spring and early summer. In fact, these things got so heavy that this part right here is part of the plant, but it split and fell over because there's just too much weight. But I got way too much basil. So I guess I can cut it down to 1 plant instead of 2, because look at that monster. All right, blackberries over there. Previous video, they were hit with some kind of disease, I guess. Still haven't figured out exactly why most of my berries shriveled up on the vine. But I did have a few that survived, or some late blooms. So I didn't get as much as I would have gotten, but I'm still trying to figure out what happened. Blueberries are pretty much done. I still have a little bit here and there, but as you can see, I have the net lifted up and everything. Came in here trying to mow the lawn and weed whack in between. It was becoming a hassle to deal around all the pots and deal with all the netting. And so since most of the berries were already gone, I figured I'd just roll it up, and if the birds come in and get a little bit here and there, no big deal, because I got the bulk of what I needed. Apple trees here. Here's the Honeycrisp apple, showing you that. Japanese beetles have been attacking. Hate those things. And here's the Fuji apple tree. So again, these are just in their first year here with me. These are about probably 4 years old. So I'm not expecting any fruit production and everything. So I'm just kind of watching every now and then, see what it does, see what's going on, and hopefully in next year maybe something will come about. I'm sure next few years it'll get more production out of it, just like my blueberries took a little while. When you buy perennials like these apple trees and other kinds of trees, you're not doing it for the quick production right away. It takes a while. This is stuff that's going to live for quite some time, probably even past my own life. And but they're doing all right. Like I said, I got trying to find some way of dealing with those Japanese beetles that are just killing the leaves. I have a couple traps out, but that's not enough. I just harvested a tomato a little while ago, and I harvest a couple of them every now and then. But showing you the pumpkin plant here. This is all just one pumpkin plant that's in here. I was originally going to do two, and this is a 4x8 raised bed. I was originally going to do two, but I only ended up, well, one of them didn't survive. And I'm kind of actually glad for that, because this one is going to be way too big for even this 4x8. This thing has put out so many vines in all different directions that it's crazy that I'm going to have to probably snip a few of them off just to help contain it in here. Now, as you can see, I built a frame and then draped the tulle material. That's Tulle tulle. It's the material they use to make wedding veils out of. And you know, you can see what a fine mesh this is, and it allows almost virtually every bit of the sunlight in, water and air. But it should keep out about 99.99% of the bugs, particularly squash bugs and squash vine borers and cucumber beetles, which go after pumpkins with vengeance. But yeah, so this is doing really well, and but that's usually what happens to me with my pumpkins in the beginning. For the first month, the first 2 months, things look really great, and then they go downhill. And so far it's repeating, you know, everything's great so far, but we'll see in the long run what happens. I did want to show you something here that's kind of interesting. This down here, you can see there's a female flower that's kind of dying off, but it's the pumpkin itself, it was yellow, and I've been watching it for the last couple of days. When the petals were still green, the pumpkin was yellow. Now, from my personal experience, yellow pumpkins on the bottom of the flower petals indicates that it is a Maxima family pumpkin variety. But when I bought these seeds at RamirSeeds.com, when I bought the seeds, the website said that these were Peppo family pumpkins, which means you would have a green pumpkin at the bottom, and then it would ripen to orange, and you would have a nice woody stem. The Maxima family is going to be yellow pumpkins turning to orange later on, and they have more of a corky, spongy handle or stem. So we'll see what happens here, but this is looking like it's a Maxima variety, even though the website said it's Peppo. So we'll find out in the near future. And you can see I got a lot of new growth here going out. I'll probably have to snip this because see how it's pushing out against material, and that means it's going to pull away at the bottom and allow bugs to get through, and I don't want that. So moving on here, there's the muskmelons. They're still kind of a nice drab green, you know, looking thing, and they're not huge, but I have about maybe 5 or 6, 5 of them maybe. You see some more. Now one of them is starting to get that netting kind of skin on there instead of the other smooth ones like you just saw. So this one is beginning to ripen a little bit, and let's see, there's a little one up here. This one's been a late bloomer, but it's come on pretty fast. So that's a good size right there. It's a good softball, but a little bit bigger than a softball. I'll show you what's going on with the cucumbers. Not a whole lot. They're not as dark green as I would like them to be. Got powdery mildew and things like that going on in here. Now these are my Armenian yard-long cucumbers, and you can see this is a pretty big mamma jamma right here. And ladies, I know what you're thinking, but get that thought out of your mind. All right. Anyhow, these are a keeper. And let me explain what I'm talking about. They are not very prolific, at least not in my experience. I know others probably have different experiences. They're not very prolific for me right now this year. However, the skin is so thin that you can use a potato peeler, and you won't sacrifice so much flesh like you would have to with other varieties where you have to cut down with a knife and everything. So that's one plus. The other thing is, you might be thinking, well, because it's so big, that it's going to be very seedy and the seeds are going to be huge. Well, that's not been the case with this Armenian yard-long cucumbers. The seeds, no matter how big this thing gets, are very small in size. And so both my wife and I were enjoying that. I'm not a huge cucumber fan, but I am enjoying these. So these are definitely going to be a keeper for us. I've got a little bit more growing here and there. You know, I haven't seen a whole lot going on the top. Got a couple more down here. A little shorter ones, but still very good, very thick. And another one right here. Okay, so let me take you over to the cantaloupes. They seem to be doing well. Look, just a brief stop by on the tomatoes. Just like I said, harvested one. There's another one in. It's almost ready. And just a quick little tip for those of you who don't know, and I'm sure most of you do. If you're expecting rain in the forecast, a lot of heavy rain, and you have tomatoes that are almost ripe, get them out of there before the rain comes, because that's where you get your splitting and cracking of the skin. All right, taking you over to the cantaloupes. Got a few growing here and there and everything, but the ones I wanted to show you, as we're starting to lose some daylight here, is this one right here. This was probably the very first one that was pollinated. It's my biggest one, so they're not too huge, but it's already getting the matted netting skin to it, and sooner or later this will start to get more orange, and then when it's ready, the top there, the stem, will pretty much pull away and leave like a little crater in the melon itself, in the cantaloupe. And that's how you know you got a fresh, ripe cantaloupe, and you'll get that nice, good smell from it too once it gets closer. So this is starting to get ready. It's just a matter of ripening. I don't know how fast it will. Like the peppers the other day, or the one I just showed you a little while ago, that took about maybe 2 to 3 days, and it turned fast. Some of my pumpkins in the past have ripened when I started to see the first little bit of orange showing through the green. In a week's time, that thing was completely ripe, or even a little bit less than that. So these can go pretty fast, but we'll see how the cantaloupes do. There's a lemon balm plant right there, but I'm gonna probably be putting a pumpkin or something in here. I have some out in front ready to go. The ashataba plants are going in here. The tomatoes are trying to take over. I gotta get that up, but the ashataba is doing pretty good, and I got some baby ashatabas there and another ashataba, so they're finally starting to put on. These are 2-year plants, and I have those orange tomatoes right there. Those are the Amana orange variety. So down over here, as you can see, here's my watermelon patch. About maybe 5 or 6 plants in there. I was only originally going to do 2, but I decided I'll put up one of my big wooden trellises that I made, and I would hang these watermelons vines up on the trellis and attach them there. And I have these pumpkin hammocks that I made last year in a previous video, and what was I thinking? The pumpkin hammocks I can then turn into watermelon hammocks, and they will support the heavy weights. And you can see here's a female that opened up this morning, and I came out and hand pollinated it, plus I shot it with a tomato blossom spray. And here's a second female that I took care of this morning. And somewhere close by in here is another female that's just hanging by itself. I'm trying to find where I had him. Oh, there he is. I see him. There he is, right there. It's getting a little hard to tell, but I don't know if he got ripe or not. Pollinated. He's hanging around. Let's see if he starts to swell and get bigger. And I pollinated a couple in there this morning too. And so we'll see what happens. And this is sort of an experiment of what I can grow more vertically, so I can dedicate more space to other plants besides these vining plants taking up so much space. And not a whole lot else going on. You can see blackberry. Oh, that one came off fairly easily. Let's see if this one comes off. Nope. Oh, just came off. It probably was close to being ripe. And CDs are doing a pretty good job of keeping birds away for the most part. Japanese beetle trap there and whatnot. So I'm going to do a little bit more work out here in the garden. I'm going to spray my azazole. You know what? That's one thing I haven't talked to you guys about. One of my things that I'm using and kind of experimenting with to see how effective it is. Everybody knows about neem oil and the azadactrin ingredient in there that causes, that is the main active ingredient that inhibits bugs from reproducing and stops them from feeding on your plants after a little while. Well, this product right here, azazole, is very expensive, but it has 6% azadactrin in it. Okay, hopefully that's showing up in the camera, but it's got 6% azadactrin, which is the highest I have seen anywhere. All the neem oils got like 1%, 2%, or 3%, and this has 6%, and this is water soluble. So put it in your sprayer and let it, and then go and spray it. Spray down your plants and you're good to go. So and you can also use it as a soil drench. So that's what I'm using to, as another way of protecting my pumpkin plants, and I'm using it on my apple trees because they say it's effective against Japanese beetles. So it's time to reapply the stuff. I just wish I had it earlier on in the year so that maybe I could have prevented some of the damage that I'm seeing. So all right, and it's getting dark out here. So from Pittman's Pumpkin Patch, Pittman's Garden Patch, thank you and for subscribing. And if you have any questions or comments, please post them down below. Bye.